I'm Wesley Stone, 32, an ethical fund advisor. Christmas dinner at my parents' house. Everything was fake, the smiles, the love, the opulence. Then Mom, Martha, locked eyes with me and raised her glass. Her cruel smirk delivered the blow. Good news, everyone. We finally sold Grandma Eleanor's house. Did they really think I didn't see that coming? Stick around to see how I served them the ultimate cold dish right there at the table. I was the middle child, the gray piece of the Stone family puzzle that never quite fit. My sister, Chelsea, was the golden child, the marketing director, the social star. My younger brother, Dean, was the baby, the one constantly needing expensive bailouts. And then there was me, Wesley, the overlooked financial advisor. Only my Grandma Eleanor ever saw my value. Why was Grandma's trust in me so important? Because her house, the house they just sold, was the last physical link to the only person who truly loved me. I built my career as an ethical fund advisor and property developer, a world based on transparency and discipline, the exact opposite of my parents' manipulative, image-obsessed life. They saw my ethics as a weakness, a lack of ambition. I was invisible next to Chelsea's glamorous event life and Dean's constant dramatic problems. What happens when the boring son uses his boring ethical knowledge to launch the ultimate strategic strike? I built my life quietly, with the discipline and transparency Grandma Eleanor taught me. Her house wasn't just bricks and mortar, it was my anchor. It was the only place I felt truly normal, truly safe, away from the toxic, materialistic drama of Robert and Martha. She instilled in me the value of integrity over quick, dishonest gains. But when my parents tried to erase that anchor for a selfish reason, what was the logical, strategic move I had to make? I later found out they sold Grandma's house, my last physical link to her, without telling me. The reason? To cover Dean's latest financial mess. When I finally asked, Mom simply scoffed, "Dean needs it, Wesley. Your little sentimental attachment is just nonsense." They always chose Dean's need over my feeling. They thought they silenced me and got away with it. But I was an ethical fund advisor and a property developer. You really think I'd let them get away with exploiting my grandmother's memory? I didn't yell or argue. I just watched. Using my property developer expertise, I discreetly tracked Grandma's house listing. As an advisor, I knew exactly how to use trusts and shell companies. I started financially planning for the moment they listed it, a moment of calculated opportunity. My goal was simple: protect Grandma's legacy from their greedy hands. What I didn't expect was a phone call from Grandma's old lawyer that unlocked a secret weapon, a secret that would allow me to dismantle my parents' entire scheme. Every family gathering was the same. Mom would loudly brag about Chelsea's high-profile event management and Dean's potential, despite his constant failures. My own achievements, successfully managing millions in ethical funds, developing properties, were always met with a lukewarm, "That's nice, Wesley." But is it exciting? They labeled my ethics-driven career boring and dismissed my hard work as easily as they dismissed Grandma's memory. This constant underestimation was the fuel for my strategic response. They thought my boring career meant I was weak. But what they didn't know was that my boring discipline led me to the ultimate secret, Grandma's real will. Just weeks before the house sale, I received a discreet message from Eleanor's old lawyer, Mr. Hayes. He requested a private meeting, stating it concerned an ethical discrepancy. We met at a quiet downtown cafe, far from my parents' watchful eyes. Hayes placed a thick envelope on the table. He revealed that Eleanor had made an alternate will, specifically naming me as the primary trustee, trusting me to handle her legacy with integrity, a legacy my parents had tried to bury. My grandmother gave me the ultimate tool for defense. Now that I had the truth in hand, how exactly did I use my property developer skills to beat them to the sale and claim the house first? Reading the alternate will wasn't about money, it was the ultimate act of faith from the one person who truly saw me. Eleanor explicitly stated she feared my parents would prioritize their greed over her values. She trusted me, the boring ethical son, to handle her legacy with integrity and purpose. That trust became my armor. I realized reclaiming the house wasn't revenge, it was fulfilling her final wish. My dream wasn't to hurt them, but to protect her memory and prove that integrity, not manipulation, ultimately wins. With the alternate will giving me the legal high ground, how did I use my property development connections to silently swoop in and buy the house right out from under my parents' noses? With the alternate will as my shield, Mr. Hayes and I executed the plan with surgical precision. I funneled the necessary funds through a discreet holding trust, a shell company that couldn't be traced back to boring Wesley Stone. The key was absolute secrecy. My parents must believe the sale was going to a third party. As a property developer, I knew the game. The moment the listing went live, my trust submitted a clean, non-contingent offer at a slightly above market price. It was designed to be irresistible, ensuring a quick closure before my parents or Chelsea could poke around and find out the buyer was me. The closing documents were signed under the name of the holding trust. My parents were eager for the money to bail out Dean, so they rushed the process. They were so focused on the cash they didn't scrutinize the buyer's details, falling directly into the legal trap I had set. The house was mine, but they didn't know it yet. At that Christmas dinner, when they gloated about the sale, how did I choose to drop the ultimate legal and emotional bombshell on the entire Stone family? Martha raised her glass again. The sale money is covering Dean's investment hiccup. We decided Dean needs this more than you, Wesley, since you're so stable with your ethical funds. Chelsea giggled. The humiliation was public, designed to cut deep, implying my success was boring and worthless compared to Dean's potential. I sat there, quietly eating, absorbing the betrayal. The years of neglect, the constant put-downs, and now, the callous erasure of the one place I held sacred. The betrayal wasn't just about money, it was the theft of a memory, the final statement that I didn't matter. Their arrogance was unbearable. But every word they spoke was fuel. I looked at the smug expressions of my parents. Realizing this was my moment. The moment to deploy my years of quiet planning and that powerful, hidden document. I simply set down my fork and prepared to speak. What was the single, chilling sentence I spoke at that dinner table that instantly wiped the smirk off my mother's face and brought the entire room to a dead silence? I met Mom's eyes, the smirk fading on her face. I spoke the sentence I'd been rehearsing for weeks, keeping my tone perfectly level, devoid of emotion. That's interesting, Mother. Because I already bought Grandma's house through my holding trust. The closing happened last week. The silence was immediate, heavy, and delicious. Dad, Robert, dropped his fork. Martha stammered, her face draining of color. Chelsea was confused, then furious. What are you talking about, Wesley? We sold it to a company in Delaware. I gave them a slight, cold smile. That company belongs to me. You rushed the sale so quickly you failed to read the fine print or check the beneficial owner. I pulled the alternate will from my jacket pocket, handing it to Robert. Furthermore, the house sale was invalid under the terms of Grandma's real will, which names me as the primary trustee. You also mishandled the trust fund for years, diverting funds to Dean. I didn't wait for the inevitable screaming. I stood up, looked at the wreckage of my supposed family, and walked out. The lawyer will be in touch regarding the misused trust funds. Merry Christmas. That was my final word. I walked away, alone, but finally free. The house was mine, the truth was out, and my family was facing legal ruin. But what consequence did their betrayal have on their finances and reputation? And what did I ultimately do with the house to honor Grandma Eleanor? Martha went from smug to purple in 3 seconds. She slammed her hand on the table. You tricked us, Wesley. You used some kind of legal loophole to steal the money we needed for your brother. I watched her panic, knowing this was the first time she'd faced a consequence she couldn't charm or manipulate her way out of. Dad, the retired bank officer, understood the legal implications immediately. He didn't care about the house, only the misuse of the trust fund. The alternate will, the trustee change, we could be facing civil action. Where is the money we put toward Dean's debts? The realization hit them. The $400,000 from the sale was worthless since the house was still effectively mine. I let the chaos swirl. My silence was my power. I finally had control, not just over an asset, but over the narrative. They were fighting for the money they misused, while I was standing firm on the integrity Grandma demanded. They thought I was destroying the family, but I was protecting a legacy. In that moment of pure chaos, what memory of Grandma Eleanor gave me the strength to stand my ground and walk away? As Dad sputtered about civil action, my eyes drifted to a small, hand-painted wooden ornament, one Grandma Eleanor made years ago. The chaos faded. I heard her voice, gentle yet firm, the way she spoke the last time we saw her. "Wesley, my dear, they prioritize appearance over character. Protect what matters." Even if family doesn't, her trust was the true legacy. She knew they would try to steal the money. She knew they would sell the house. But she ensured I had the legal strength, the high ground, to reclaim her values. That knowledge was the only thing that mattered in that room full of shouting, grasping people. I wasn't fighting them for the house itself, I was fighting for her honor. In that quiet moment of reflection, I felt completely vindicated. I had done right by Eleanor, and that was the only approval I ever truly needed. With their betrayal confirmed and my integrity intact, what was the exact legal and financial fallout that followed my Christmas bombshell, and how did I ensure they had to repay every cent they stole? I stepped outside into the cold Christmas air. I had won. The house was legally mine, and the truth about their financial abuses was exposed. There was immense relief, but the victory was cold. I walked away from the screaming, the shame, and the shattered image of my childhood. Chelsea was furious, not because they stole from Grandma, but because I embarrassed her socially. Dean was confused, still clinging to the baby role. Watching my family crumble wasn't satisfying, it was an affirmation of grief. The family I thought I had died that night. That grief was the true cost of my honesty. Yet, there was no regret. This wasn't revenge, it was amputation. It was necessary to cut out the rot to save Eleanor's memory. The physical act of walking away was the final, deliberate step toward peace and the creation of a new, honorable legacy. My family was gone, but Grandma's house was mine. What happened when my parents received the final legal judgment requiring them to pay back years of misused funds, and how did I transform the house into a symbol of Eleanor's enduring kindness? The immediate aftermath of Christmas was silence, quickly followed by chaos. Mr. Hayes, Eleanor's lawyer, filed a detailed civil complaint on my behalf, acting as the rightful trustee. The complaint detailed the house sale invalidation and, more critically, the years of fund diversion from Eleanor's official trust. My parents, still reeling from losing the house, tried to deny everything. But Hayes and I had the proof. We presented bank statements showing thousands siphoned from the trust, disguised as estate management fees or urgent maintenance, primarily to fund Dean's failed ventures and Mom's lavish lifestyle. The total amount diverted was nearly $650,000. The court process was devastatingly quick. Given the clear evidence and the existence of the alternate will, the judge sided firmly with the trust. Robert and Martha were legally required to repay the entire sum, plus legal fees. This wasn't a quiet family disagreement, it was a public court case. Robert, the proud retired banker, had his reputation shattered. Martha's social standing collapsed. The local papers picked up the story of the prominent family disgraced by greed. They were forced to sell assets, their luxury cars, expensive jewelry, to meet the judgment. They called me, begging me to withdraw the complaint, saying I had ruined the family name. I told them the truth, you ruined the family name when you stole from Eleanor. Dean, the recipient of the stolen money, was left to face his own debts with no more bailouts. Chelsea, the golden child, cut contact, embarrassed by the scandal. The destruction was complete. It was a victory, yet the required repayment meant they truly had nothing left of the fortune they chased. I executed the judgment without remorse. This wasn't personal spite, it was the inevitable consequence of prioritizing greed over integrity. My ethical fund advisory career finally brought justice home, proving that the silent, detailed work always wins against the loud, dishonest facade. With justice served and the house legally secured, my next move wasn't about revenge. It was about honoring Eleanor. How did I transform the house into a lasting symbol of her kindness, making sure my parents would see her legacy shine forever? The noise was gone. The family drama, the court battle, the begging, it all faded into silence. I sat in Grandma's house, now legally and fully mine, feeling a peace I hadn't realized I was missing my entire life. The victory wasn't financial, it was existential. I finally recognized that I was never the broken piece of their puzzle. They were the puzzle pieces that didn't fit the picture of integrity. Walking away was the ultimate act of self-care and freedom. The house was mine, and I was free. But what was the final, brilliant move I made to ensure Eleanor's legacy lived on, and that my parents had to face it every single day? I decided to put my property developer skills to work for a noble cause, honoring Grandma's wish for integrity. I announced the formation of the Eleanor Stone Trust for Housing Integrity. Its first major project, transforming her house into a short-term, low-cost rental property for single parents struggling to make ends meet. This news made the local papers. Not as a scandal, but as an inspiring story of a grandson honoring his grandmother by dedicating her home to helping others, a sharp contrast to the previous articles about my parents' greed. It was a beautiful, public display of my family's true values versus theirs. The crisis for them was watching me succeed with integrity. Martha called me, screaming that I was making them look worse. It's a slap in the face. You bought the house back only to turn it into a charity case. It destroys the neighborhood value. I simply replied, the value of a home is in the kindness it holds, Mother. Something you failed to understand. The financial judgment and the public shame meant they had to sell their own lavish home to pay me back. Their last remaining asset was gone. They had to liquidate everything to cover the trust fund money they tried to steal. They tried to eliminate Eleanor's house for greed. Instead, their greed led to the loss of their own home. I achieved the ultimate, ethical justice. But what final advice can I give you on protecting your own legacy? And what does true family revenge really look like? People called it revenge, but that's too simple. Revenge is fueled by anger and leaves you empty. This was restitution. It was using my skills and Eleanor's foresight to enforce the integrity that my parents constantly ignored. It was about defining my own path, separate from their toxic pursuit of status. My quiet ambition, the quality they ridiculed as boring, turned out to be the most powerful weapon in the face of their loud, reckless greed. They underestimated the ethical fund advisor. They underestimated the man who valued principles more than profit. Eleanor's legacy wasn't the money they coveted, it was the trust she placed in me. And that trust, preserved, was the greatest win of all. What does my life look like now, free from their shadow, and what is the final, non-financial lesson you should take away from my family's story? My life now is quiet, productive, and truly mine. I didn't need their approval or validation anymore. The toxic silence from my parents and siblings is the greatest gift of freedom I could have received. I found my strength not in fighting them, but in refusing to be defined by their low expectations and cheap theatrics. I converted Eleanor's house into a sanctuary of kindness, a place where integrity is the guiding principle. I put the keys in the hands of the first struggling single mother, and that moment, seeing genuine gratitude, provided the closure I truly needed, not revenge, but purpose. If you are stuck in a family that undervalues you, remember this, your quiet integrity is your biggest weapon. Don't argue, plan. Don't seek their approval, seek justice. The greatest revenge is simply living a good life, free from their shadow, honoring your own ethical code. What ethical trap do I recommend you set for your own toxic family members? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories of justice served cold. The moment the court judgment was finalized, requiring them to repay the $650,000, Robert's controlled anger broke. He sent me a text, one of the few contacts I didn't block. "You have destroyed us. You ruined your family's name just to spite us. You are a cold, ungrateful mistake." Martha took the social martyr route. She spread stories among her friends, and even to a local gossip blog, that I was mentally unstable, obsessed with Eleanor's house, and that I was punishing them for not being supportive enough of my boring career. A few superficial family friends, people who only valued the Stones for their lavish parties, sent me nasty emails, calling me a spoiled brat who was too blinded by money to see family loyalty. I recognized their voices immediately. They feared losing their own connections. Chelsea's approach was self-preservation. She claimed I ruined her brand and her social connections by causing a public scandal. She tried to frame me as the villain who maliciously revealed the family's secrets right before her biggest event of the year, purely out of spite. Every accusation was a deliberate inversion of the truth. They weren't angry I betrayed them, they were angry I exposed their betrayal of Eleanor. They blamed me for the consequences of their choices, trying to shift the moral high ground back to their side. I never responded publicly. My strategy had always been precise action, not loud reaction. I blocked every number, unfollowed every social account, and let the lies swirl around a vacuum. My silence was the final step of my control. I refused to give their narrative oxygen. They forced me to choose between my ethics and their approval. I chose Eleanor's integrity. The result was complete isolation from the family unit, but total freedom for the individual. The truth was, they needed me to play the villain so they could play the victim. The greatest weapon a toxic person has is their ability to flip the script. Don't let them. Your knowledge of the truth is your ultimate defense. They called me cold, I called it self-respect. They called it unforgivable. I called it justice. I look at Grandma's house, now a place of shelter and good deeds, and I know I did the right thing. Their blame means nothing. I choose my peace over their panic every single time. But I have one last warning for you. What is the most dangerous kind of revenge, and how do you achieve true closure without resorting to the anger they want you to feel? While my parents' social circle turned against me, the professional world recognized my actions as integrity, not malice. Mr. Hayes, the lawyer, shook my hand firmly after the final judgment. You did right by Eleanor, Wesley. Most people would have taken the money and run. You enforced the trust's ethics. That takes true courage. The local news articles about the scandal surprisingly bolstered my professional life. Clients I respected, the ones who truly valued my ethical funds approach, reached out. They didn't see a villain, they saw a man who would stand up for his principles, even against his own family. The community around Eleanor's house, tired of the Stones' arrogance, offered quiet support. Neighbors sent me small notes, thanking me for preserving the street's character. Their support wasn't loud, but it was genuine, a stark, warm contrast to the screeching negativity from my immediate family. I learned that true support doesn't come from blood ties, it comes from shared values. My new family was the network of professionals and neighbors who respected integrity. They reinforced the lesson Eleanor taught me: never apologize for choosing the right thing. With true support found in my old life behind me, what is the ultimate non-financial reward you get when you choose integrity over toxic loyalty? And what final piece of advice can I give you right now? I shifted my focus entirely to my ethical fund advisory. My business flourished because clients trusted me implicitly. The scandal proved I was willing to sacrifice personal comfort for principle. Success was no longer about matching my parents' wealth, it was about the positive impact of my investments. Driving past Grandma's house, the house I reclaimed, is no longer painful. It's now a vibrant, safe place. Seeing children play in the yard and a deserving family find stability there is the closest I'll ever get to having Eleanor back. The trust is working exactly as she intended. Meanwhile, my parents, having liquidated their assets to pay me back, had to move into a tiny, leased apartment in a less desirable area. The irony wasn't lost on me. They lost their sprawling luxury home because they tried to steal the modest house that anchored their false status. Dean, now bankrupt, tried to contact me one last time, begging for an emergency loan. He framed it as family helping family. I gave him the number for a reputable debt counselor and hung up. Enabling their recklessness was the old me. The new me respects boundaries. For years, my identity was shaped by being the other brother, the stable one, the boring one. Now, my identity is defined by the integrity I fought for. I am Wesley Stone, the man who honored his grandmother's trust. The validation I sought externally finally came from within. Peace is not the absence of conflict, it's the ability to manage conflict without sacrificing your soul. I don't think about my family anymore. My focus is on the future, on building institutions of integrity, and on the quiet knowledge that I am finally free. Eleanor 1. Her wisdom preserved the house and created a resource that genuinely helps people. My revenge wasn't loud, it was the quiet, undeniable proof that an ethical life will always triumph over greed. The story is over, but the lesson remains. What is the single best piece of advice I can give you on cutting ties with toxic family members while still maintaining your moral high ground? Time became my greatest ally. The intense anger and the deep wound of betrayal began to smooth out, replaced by a quiet emotional distance. I realized that the pain came from the expectation that they would ever change. Once that expectation died, the pain followed. They still tried occasionally. An email from Martha complaining about their new cramped apartment. A LinkedIn message from Chelsea suggesting we reconcile for a potential business deal. I treated them like unsolicited spam, read, confirmed the toxicity, and deleted. There was no negotiation, no second chance. My new circle, my clients, Mr. Hayes, the families in Eleanor's house, they know my character. That shared honesty became my new family bond. I realized that Eleanor didn't just leave me a house, she left me a moral compass, a path that led to genuine respect. To anyone facing similar family betrayals, understand this: anger is expensive, planning is profitable. I didn't win by being loud, I won by being meticulously prepared. I weaponized their own greed against them, using the very legal system they thought protected their privilege. My ultimate revenge was denying them the satisfaction of seeing me miserable. I am happy. I am successful. I am free. They are stuck in a cycle of bitterness and debt, having lost everything they falsely valued. That ethical victory is worth more than any inheritance. Never negotiate your moral code for family peace. Toxic loyalty is a trap. If they ask you to compromise your ethics, they are asking you to betray yourself. The ties that bind you to toxic people are not love, they are chains. Cut them. I sit here now, truly content. My life is built on solid ground. This story is my proof and my closure. What ethical trap do I recommend you set for your own toxic family members? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories of justice served cold. The Eleanor Stone Trust didn't stop with Grandma's house. The successful reclaiming and utilization of that first property, coupled with the $650,000 recouped from my parents, gave us a substantial foundation. We officially expanded our mission to help single parents achieve financial stability. We chose families based on need and potential. The first family at Eleanor's house, a single mother named Clara and her 2 young daughters, radiated gratitude. Seeing their joy, their genuine, non-materialistic happiness, was the truest form of wealth I had ever experienced. Through the trust, I met people who shared Eleanor's values: quiet service, honesty, and genuine community investment. These were the true successful people, not those flaunting designer clothes, but those quietly building better lives for others. I chose to purchase the trust's second property just 5 blocks from my parents' cramped, leased apartment. The trust's logo, a stylized ES4 Eleanor Stone, is now a permanent feature in their new, less desirable neighborhood. They have to see Eleanor's name associated with good deeds and philanthropy every time they drive out. Their wealth and social status have been replaced by her quiet, persistent goodness. This is the enduring, ethical consequence of their greed. I found love and respect in a way my family never understood. My new partner, Sarah, is a social worker who admires my commitment to Eleanor's values. For the first time, my personal and professional life are aligned, built on integrity, not illusion. They always treated Dean as the golden child, the one whose dreams needed funding. The truth is, I was Eleanor's golden child, the one trusted with her most sacred possession, her values. I am proud to have honored that sacred trust. This isn't just the end of a revenge story, it's the beginning of a legacy story. I chose integrity over family, and the reward was a life built on solid, ethical ground. My name, Wesley Stone, is now associated with light, not the darkness of my family's greed. What ethical trap do I recommend you set for your own toxic family members? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories of justice served cold. What ethical trap do I recommend you set for your own toxic family members? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe for more stories of justice served cold. If you've listened to my story and recognized the shadows of your own family, know this: you are not trapped. Lesson 1. True loyalty is earned, not inherited. You have the power to draw boundaries, even when it feels like cutting off a part of yourself. My victory wasn't luck, it was meticulous preparation. Lesson 2. Weaponize your ethics, don't fight with their anger. Use planning, documentation, and the quiet power of integrity. Lesson 3. Your worth is defined by your principles, not their approval. Now is your time to define your own legacy. Lesson 4. True success is peace. Focus on building a life that honors your highest values, a life where you feel genuinely safe and respected. Don't waste energy on people determined to misunderstand you. The greatest revenge is simply living well. Lesson 5. The ties that truly bind you are those you choose, not those you inherit. Share your story in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to join a community that celebrates justice and integrity served cold.